Next, on Currents News, finally, a COVID relief bill could soon be signed into law, but families are worried it won't be enough to put a dent into their sinking finances. Plus,
businesses in Bay Ridge are coming together to give back at a time when they're struggling to survive. I'm Jessica Easthope, and that's ahead.
Then Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio stops by to talk about the true meaning of Christmas. And one group of parishioners is taking the bishop's words to heart. They've created a crèche like no other for their Queens parish. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. Americans are finally getting some help from Washington. The $900 billion bipartisan COVID relief bill is finally on the president's desk for his signature. Stimulus payments could be in the mail as early as next week. D.C. lawmakers say the bill isn't perfect, but it is progress.
None of us think any of this legislation is perfect, but a big bipartisan majority of us recognize the incredible amount of good it will do when we send it to the president's desk.
It is a good bipartisan bill. It addresses the food needs of the American people. Maybe 15 million children are food insecure in our country.
The bill includes money for schools and coronavirus vaccinations, but no funding for state and local governments or liability protections to guard against COVID-related lawsuits. Financial support for Catholic schools will be at the discretion of individual governors. So what exactly is in the bill? Some of the key elements include stimulus checks for those making below $75,000 a year, with an additional $600 per child for those who qualify. $300 in unemployment benefits will continue into March, and $25 billion will be set aside for rental assistance. Hard-hit small businesses will be eligible for $284 billion in loans. But many Americans are saying that's just not enough. A recent survey finding that 70% of respondents thought it was too little because the money provided in the stimulus package has already been spent. Car after car lined up for a box of food to have on holiday tables in North Carolina. People like Teresa Carter, who lost her job 6 weeks ago.
This is holidays, you know what I'm saying? Look at the people out here. This is ridiculous.
Carter is one of many here who said a $600 stimulus payment will help with a bill or two, but not more.
It would be just to pay the rent. That it would not help with food or gas or car payment.
When people need all the help they can get. That's why we in this long line now trying to get the food that we can get.
The 3-in-1 Family Center organized this drive. Founder Gregory Quick says this is the worst he's ever seen it. And when asked if $600 was enough to help these families?
No, because that money is already spent. Basically for those that have been affected by the pandemic. Lots of times their bills are behind.
His wife, Cassandra Quick, says people are running out of options.
Kind of brings about a shame because they did everything right. And they thought, never will I be in line to this.
Ever since the vote Monday night, lawmakers from both parties have debated whether they think the money would be enough. The bill passed in the Senate with a vote of 92-6. More activity in the nation's capital. Early Tuesday morning, President Trump signed a stopgap spending bill that keeps the government open until December 28th. The measure gives lawmakers a week to come up with legislation that will avoid a government shutdown. Federal government funding, together with the COVID relief package, has a price tag of about $2.3 trillion. The new spending bill would extend to the end of the fiscal year in September of 2021. PFIZER and MODERNA are testing their vaccines against a new COVID-19 strain after a variant was found in the UK and other countries. COVID-19 has mutated before, and both companies say their vaccines work against those variations. But researchers who are examining the new strain are concerned that it could diminish the effectiveness of the vaccines. PFIZER and MODERNA make the only two coronavirus vaccines that are currently authorized in the U.S. COVID continues to upend people's livelihoods, but one group of business owners are opening their hearts at a time when their doors are closed. Dozens of businesses in Bay Ridge have come together to make the most of these difficult times by giving back. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has their story.
The gate at PC's is down. The Bay Ridge Bar and Grill that's been a staple for 25 years is closed. Right now, it can't be the place where people get together and have fun.
I mean, there's better ways to do this than cutting us down.
That's the hardest part for owner Pam Pazarecki.
People need to come out. People need to be social, and especially now during this time of year when depression runs high.
Pam's not alone. Hundreds of businesses across the country are closing for good every day, but at a time when stress is high and profits are low.
Put that right in there.
Pam and 28 other Bay Ridge business owners are thinking about others. This Christmas, Pam started Count on Us. She organized a group of her fellow business owners, and together they began to collect food and toys. The group collected more than 1,000 toys they'll distribute to Toys for Tots, Catholic charities, domestic violence shelters, and military families.
This would be good for girls to color.
Count on Us brought out the best in the community. When St. Ephraim's students Victoria DeSpirito and Sophia Cassio saw one of their favorite restaurants giving back, they decided to make a video asking for toy donations.
Please help us achieve our goal.
Their inspiration, Jesus, and the true meaning of Christmas.
He is the best person, and he would do a lot of this stuff too.
The struggle to make Christmas special this year doesn't extend far beyond PC's. Judette Crèche can usually be found behind the bar, but she's been spending her days collecting toys.
See people give, even though they don't have. It's a wonderful thing.
Pam doesn't know when she'll be open again, but she hasn't lost hope or her desire to help those in need.
We've made kids happy. We've made families happy, and that's the most important thing.
So this Christmas, Pam's message to other families is you can count on us. In Bay Ridge, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Santa's Toy Shop is open, giving families in need a chance to bring smiles to their children this Christmas. Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens held their annual toy drive at St. Vincent Ferrer Parish in Brooklyn. Thanks to the generosity of donors and friends, the event is able to give toys to 1,800 children. Families also received $25 gift cards for the holidays. You can still bring a smile to children in need this year by donating to the Tablet's Bright Christmas campaign. Just write out a check to the Tablet Bright Christmas campaign and mail it to 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. Or head online to thetablet.org and click on the link for the Bright Christmas campaign. In the spirit of giving, the Postal Service is honoring a beloved Italian-American saint who's known as the patroness of immigrants. Today marks Mother Frances Cabrini's feast day, and the U.S. Postal Service is designating the Dyker Heights Post Office in her honor. Mother Cabrini was the first American to be canonized. In 1889, she came to the U.S. on orders from Pope Leo XIII to help America's growing Italian immigrant population. Monsignor Caserta from St. Bernadette's tells us why this honor is so important.
This valiant woman stands as an icon of welcome for the stranger and outreach to immigrant people of all ethnic backgrounds.
A plaque unveiling will take place at the post office in the spring. This past October, Governor Andrew Cuomo unveiled a statue of Mother Cabrini in Battery Park City. There's a lot more news headed your way.
This is Corpus Christi's brand new nativity scene, and it's like nothing you have ever seen before. I'm Emily Drooby, and coming up, I'll tell you how it was inspired by Pope Francis.
Then Bishop DiMarzio stops by to talk about all the Christmas festivities going on around the diocese. And this. Christmas in the time of COVID, how some students are reimagining the traditional Christmas concert in some very innovative ways. Stay with us.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
A Queens church decided to take a different approach to the classic nativity scene this Christmas, and it was inspired by Pope Francis. Currents News' Emily Drooby has the story from Woodside.
running water, and tiny woven baskets. It's the details that make this unique nativity scene so engaging.
The main event is the same, but the other features are so different and so detailed.
The crèche sits among the Christmas decor at Corpus Christi Church in Woodside, Queens. The work of art sprung from a conversation between crèche artist Alexandra Lateo and parish administrator Monsignor Jonas Achacoso in October. At the time, this piece was sitting in a basement unseen by the world. 2 short months later, it was installed here, using the statues from the church's old crèche, marrying the old with the new. Everything, including the time it took to set up and refinish the old statues, was donated for free.
I am so impressed with it. It is really a new shining light in our church that I think we desperately need in the time of the coronavirus pandemic.
The inspiration to forgo a standard crèche for this more unique piece came from Pope Francis. Last December, he signed an apostolic letter on the importance of the nativity scene, encouraging everyone to set up a crèche.
Because this is a way for us really to evangelize, to make the message of the birth of our Lord be known, and engage people into contemplating the real message of Christmas.
Monsignor Jonas says because this is different than a standard scene, he sees people taking an extra moment to view and talk about it. To him, that says it's working. People are contemplating.
The work of art is speaking to them, and they're now more engaged in contemplation.
This nativity scene will be on display here at Corpus Christi until January 11th. In Woodside, Queens, Emily Drooby, Currents News.
A reminder to parents, the annual Tablet Christmas Art Contest is on. Students in grades 1st through 12th in Brooklyn and Queens are invited to express their faith through art with the theme, Keep Christ in Christmas. So if your child is interested, they can send their artwork to thetablet.org/2020 art contest. Remember, this is a digital art contest, so no physical artwork will be accepted at the Tablet's office. One more thing, Wednesday, January 13th is the deadline, so you have to submit those works of art before 5 p.m. that day. And something else that can't be missed, a special liturgy will be offered right here on Net TV. A traditional Latin Mass or Tridentine Mass will be broadcast live from the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph on December 29th at 7 p.m. Be sure to tune in to the special liturgical experience once again, December 29th at 7 p.m. Helping us to get into the Christmas spirit is the Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio. He sits down with Ed Wilkinson to talk about the true meaning of Christmas and how the diocese is celebrating in this week's Into the Deep. Ed.
Thank you, and Christmas is here, and the Bishop is here with us today. Bishop, this has been the strangest of years, but I think we really need time to celebrate, and Christmas seems like an appropriate time to do that. Do you think this is a great opportunity to have a little bit of celebration this year?
I think so. Christmas always will be a time of celebration. It might be somewhat muted this year because of the dangers of COVID and the infection, the possibility, but we still will rejoice that the Savior is born to us and in us. And at the same time, we recognize that Advent prepares us not only for Christmas, but also for the end times. So we recognize that maybe the mutedness, the somberness is actually in concert with the way we do celebrate Christmas and understanding that the Savior has come, but he will come again. And we await that coming and we work for it.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the Christmas story, the Nativity, is a very simple story. It's a story about simplicity. Do you think that's a good guide for our celebration this year, to keep it simple as possible?
Probably. I myself, I was wondering, well, I don't know if we should put the Christmas tree up. Maybe we can just have the manger scene. That might be a good compromise. It's hard to celebrate when there's so much the difficulty and pain out there. So we have to see how we can properly celebrate this Christmas.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the government officials are asking people not to travel, stay home, keep it small family celebrations. Are we in concert with that?
Yes, I get it. It's good advice. We have to make sacrifices at this time for our loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Also, one of the images of Christmas is the Holy Family after the birth of Christ had to flee into Egypt to avoid being persecuted. Is that a good image for us to take a look at today, especially when immigration is on our mind so much? How do we relate that Holy Family as an immigrant family?
Well, it's perfectly a good image of what's happened. In fact, you know, in Grand Army Plaza, the diocese has been able to host an image of the Holy Family surrounded by 140 scenes, depictions of immigrants for the last 125 years. That is something that was in the Vatican piazza there, and now it's been replicated and brought to Brooklyn. It was in Boston, now it's in Brooklyn. Will go eventually to Washington, D.C., to the National Shrine. And in the center of this 140 images of different immigrants is the Holy Family in flight. So it really will be the center of the normal presentation that the sales does at Grand Army Plaza with the Christmas tree. And this will be the Christmas crèche itself, that image of the Holy Family lighted to show that this is the center of that movement. From the very beginning, we see the migrant character of our faith.
Yeah. What are some of your hopes as we look forward now to 2021? Hopefully it'll be better than 2020, but what are some of the things that you're hoping for personally and for the church here in Brooklyn?
Well, my hope is, again, that the virus will be conquered by inoculations and by caution also. We need both things. We just can't rely on an inoculation to free us from this. We need to work together, taking all the precautions necessary. Hopefully the immunization of many, many people will have this virus die out. So that's my hope for the coming year, that things will be better, and slowly, with our own cooperation and sacrifices, I'm sure they will be.
Okay, Bishop, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Good. And now, back to the news desk.
Thanks, Ed. Still to come on Currents News. High up in the night sky, two celestial bodies aligned for a special Christmas treat.
Everybody's calling it a Christmas star because it's happening close to Christmas, and this is actually very unusual.
And students spreading the message of Jesus' birth in a COVID-friendly way that truly defines the meaning of Christmas. We'll explain coming up. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. If you missed the so-called Christmas star last night, don't worry, it should be visible every night until Friday. The fascinating celestial event that has all eyes on the skies is being caused by Saturn and Jupiter, which are passing so close to each other that their alignment appears like a bright star. Look for it in the southwestern sky after sunset.
You will see what looks like kind of a funny star. It looks like a star that's slightly elongated. This is if you're looking with your naked eye. It'll be about 20 degrees above the southwest horizon. Plenty bright enough to see with the naked eye. However, if you want to see that there's actually two objects there, you should use a pair of binoculars or a small telescope.
While the two planets pass each other every 20 years, they are rarely this close. And the last time it happened so close to Christmas was in the year 1166. And as we all know, the Star of Bethlehem is what led the wise men to see the newborn baby Jesus. Now, archaeologists have discovered what may be the home in Nazareth where Jesus grew up. Ken Dark, professor of archaeology and history at the University of Reading, joins us now from London. And Ken, this is pretty exciting stuff, even though there's really no hard evidence to say it was, in fact, Jesus's home. But you say it is a possibility. Why is that?
All we can say about the site is that the Byzantines, the Romans after they'd become Christian, thought that this was where Jesus had grown up. So they built a big church on the site in the 5th century, and that replaced a smaller cave church, a church carved into the rock. Just next to the site, it's on a rocky hillside, and that dates back to at least the 4th century. So that church, we believe, was visited by a pilgrim called a Gregory, a Western Catholic pilgrim, in the 4th century, and she thought that the Virgin Mary lived near that house. She thought she lived in that cave, but at that site.
Yeah, you said there was evidence that a Jewish family lived in that home. How did you figure that out?
Okay, so we found cooking pottery and other objects associated with family life, but among those also there's evidence of limestone vessels, vessels cut out of the rock. They look like pots, but they're rock. And these were used by Jews in the time of Jesus to purify water, because limestone could not become ritually impure. So if you find these vessels, you pretty much know you're dealing with a Jewish family.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You also said there was evidence of what you call quality construction. Now, we all know Joseph was a carpenter. Talk about how the house was built.
Well, the evidence for how the house was built is really quite fascinating, because it was cut back into a rocky hillside. I've mentioned the rocky hillside already. And whereas they would have normally built up the walls with stone and mortar, they did the sensible thing of, as they cut back the hillside to create a flat terrace on which the house could stand, they left bits to make the walls, and there's one of the walls, for example, still standing, has a door cut through it, and they left another bit to make a flight of steps. But what's really fascinating is whoever did this knew a lot about the properties of the local stone, more than you might expect. And of course, the word actually used for Jesus and Joseph in the Bible is for their occupation is tekton, and tekton usually is translated in the West as carpenter, but is a Greek word meaning a craftsman skilled in construction.
Wow.
So who knows?
Very interesting. Now, can people visit the site now?
Unfortunately, it's right in the middle of a working Catholic convent, and so unfortunately, no, people can't. You can go there under very strictly controlled circumstances as pilgrim groups, and sometimes by private appointment.
Wow, well, we'll have to read up on everything that you've been studying. Ken Dark, Professor of Archaeology and History at the University of Reading. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. Happy Christmas.
Students at a Catholic school in Chicago celebrated the birth of Christ with a nativity concert, but none of them actually sang. Instead of singing, they were signing. You see, because of the pandemic, students in music classes across the country aren't allowed to sing in class to prevent the spread of the virus. So the music teacher at St. Damian's School says she taught her students how to sing in American Sign Language. And as you can see, the show still went on and it was a success. And we have a programming note for you before we go. Currents News will be on hiatus starting on Christmas Eve through the new year, but we will return on Monday, January 4th at 7 p.m. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.